gentleman, did he?
Good. Hey, how are you, buddy? Good.
I'm not paying on you guys.
Oh, I see, they're like,
We got their secret meeting over there. Plus, I got the cop back there too.
Quite the activity going on
What's that?
down there at 15. I saw one car off in the ditch right there at the corner, but
well, the deputy said it was a car and somebody.
yeah, somebody okay. Saw like three fire trucks.
We saw two, we drove
Well,
by
there
those
was
two.
all these lights, I couldn't see nothing.
You want me over
You
here?
didn't see Joe? I thought Jerry went over
Okay, I gotta get some expressions here.
Especially you guys on the microphone and close.
I call her Jamie when I can't
For us, like hard to hear it.
That's good.
I set it up. Oh, I like the way it was set up. Thank you. Also, a lot of stone on the side.
My phone's even dead.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you can ask her that. What happened to you? I go, Leslie didn't win my son. Yeah, I know what's going. I forgot to leave it up there. He up here, but he's still going to school.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order.
No.
We'll have pledge of allegiance. Dwayne, would you like to lead us in pledge of
I
allegiance?
would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. Support.
Okay, reports, permits, we can all look at those. The fire chief's probably not here.
No, he's at the, he's close.
Yeah, okay. Treasurer's report? As printed?
That's printed.
Okay. Communications, notice of the county park millage allocation. You wanna talk about that?
Yes, it's the annual notification of the entitlement that we have to, because we opt in to receive county park millage sharing. And this is just the notice of what the projection is. And we have to, accept the allocation formally and submit a report by February 15th of 2024. So we will need to, no, it's in the budget resolution, I'm sorry, that's why it's not on the agenda. The budget resolution that we adopted last year already accepted it.
Okay. All right, thank you. At this time, we'll open it up to public comment. I'm gonna ask you to, when you state your name, and then state which item is on the agenda you'd like to talk about. Because we're gonna be stricter about how we've done this. I've been lenient about things, but just for the flow of the meeting, at this time, it's only about things on the agenda, so tell me which ones you wanna do, and we would like you to address the board, because that's what you're here to address us on this thing. So this time, we'll open it up to public comment. Dwayne?
Dwayne Sly, Marshall Township. I'd like, well, first, I'd like to say on behalf of me and Karen, send our condolences, Dave, on the loss of your brother. I want you to know that you're in our thoughts and prayers, the whole Bosnian family, and sorry to hear about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and second, I wanna talk about the agreement on the fire station. And I'd like to say, first off, I'm not opposed to a new fire station, a bigger and better fire station, but there's things in this agreement that I kind of, give me a little pause, and I'd like to talk about them. And, the first thing I'd like to say is that I understand, I read that we have an agreement on a plan from both sides for a five-stall fire station, but it's my understanding we don't have a cost or a bid on it, so we don't know what it's gonna cost yet. That, to me, is a concern, why we would vote on something that we don't know what's gonna cost yet. Next, under number 2 on the agreement, it talks about environmental assessments, that the buyer will pay for the environmental assessments. I know I know that's been a machine shop, and I don't know what all before that. I've been here a long time, and I don't remember what all that's been, but there's a good chance there might be some contamination there. And I'm wondering about if there's any remediation that might be needed, clean up the soil, who's gonna pay for that? It doesn't specify that, and if MAEDA or the buyer is gonna be responsible for that, is that gonna come out of the budget for the fire station? We don't know. Then, I look at number 7, and the plans for the fire station have been approved by the fire board, by both sides, but it says it can be modified. So we really don't know yet exactly what we're gonna get. It says it can be modified, and it said to the extent that funds are available within the budget. That kind of concerns me. And then it also says that the final design is subject to approval. So we've approved something, but we don't really know what we've approved because both parties have agreed to change it, that it can be amended. Under number 8, the septic and water, that kind of concerns me. It sunsets 12/31 of 25. If the water and sewer are not available by then, it's up to us to pay to hook up if we want to hook up. And I think this is something that they should pay for, since really this is their baby, this is for their convenience, really, this whole deal. But the biggest one that really bothers me is number 16. It says all this is contingent upon availability of funding. The estimate's $3 million, but it's all contingent upon availability of funding. So do we have a concrete agreement that we got $3 million for a fire station? I would say we don't. What's to prevent the buyer, after you've agreed to this, coming up and saying, well, we're sorry, we only got $1 million. We don't have that $3 million. The funding is gone, and we're stuck in this agreement. The way I read it. Now, Seth might be able to correct me on that, but it bothers me that if you enter into this agreement, you're gonna sell our present station that is a functioning, working station. It might not be the fanciest, but it is working and it's functioning. You're gonna sell that for $1 and buy what we hope is a better one for $1, but we don't have any guarantee in this agreement that it will be better. That really concerns me. Another thing that's in here that I don't know, it's just a stickler of mine, is whenever my dad used to build houses and sell them. He didn't build them, he hired contractors to build them, lived in them a few years and sell them. And he always impressed on me, and I did it when I built my house, was you always get a release of liens from all the contractors. And it paid off for my dad, cause one time, he had one subcontractor that wasn't paid, and if he hadn't got that release, he would have had a lien on his home. So those are the things that bother me, and I'm hoping you guys will maybe discuss it or amongst yourselves, and maybe, you know, you can put some of these concerns to rest. Thank you.
Just quick.
Gary?
I see the mics are being used tonight, so it sounds like it's turned up there pretty decent. I sure would have liked to seen what you guys said first, how much your comments on it first, before I make my comment on it, because I don't know what your feelings are. How much homework have you guys done? Wouldn't it be easier for us to comment on something that we know what you guys are feeling on it? What your feelings are, what's going on in your head?
Are you talking about the
Yes,
agreement?
yes.
Okay, I just wanna make clear that.
So
that's
I
what
wanna
we're
make sure
talking about.
you guys, I wish I could've heard you guys first. Then I could've made a discussion of how you're actually planning to discuss it. So no sense of us disagreeing with something you disagree with already. We should be bringing up new topics. We should be listening to what your feeling is on it. Cause you guys set up some meetings, you don't even talk before, even after, you don't have any discussions. And so now we gotta step up here and talk, and we don't even know what you found out, what's going on. And of course, you had to bring the sheriff in again. Thank you. Of course, why is the sheriff here? Is there a danger here going on? What is that called? A threat to the life and limb? What the heck is that going on? He shouldn't even be here. There's nobody in here gonna threaten him.
Okay, we're
So,
off
therefore,
the topic of what's on the
That, but
agenda.
still,
We're off the
it
topic.
restricts my speech.
Okay, we're off the topic of what's on
Then
the
also,
agenda.
why is one person being designated to handle all the negotiations? What you should be doing on that is more like, you should get us as a team out here. We're a team. We're part of the township. You should have a committee provide this input to you and bring it to you. Not the stuff that is being done behind closed doors and we don't know what's going on. There's plenty of smart people out here. And you're not using them. So that ticks me off. You know that. You should use us instead of abusing us. And so, I agree with what Dwayne said. Sorry about that, Dwayne. It's been a long day. No, it's just, all these things are being held behind closed doors, and we should have known that even at the last meeting, that all these things are going on. Of course, MAEDA knew all about.
Is this on an agenda item?
Yeah, it has to do with what's going on here.
Okay.
Hey, you're trying to restrict my speech?
No, we're trying to not let things get out of control like they did last meeting.
Is he gonna ding that thing again? Is he gonna give me 2 more minutes?
Jerry, I just asked you a question.
It didn't get out of hand last time. You guys did not like me to answer questions, so you ended up just shutting it right down.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it did not get out of hand.
Okay,
You may have felt it got out of hand, but it didn't get out of hand, because only the reason why it got out of hand is you guys couldn't answer the questions.
okay. Let's stick to our agenda stuff.
This is the agenda, I went through there. And why is one person working on this whole thing? So, we don't even know, did you guys all read what's going on? I can't answer that question. the engineer should have known what's going on. He was here the last fire meeting. Of course, the people he worked for, they were right there, he was working for them. That's a conflict, this whole thing is a conflict of interest. Is my time going?
You got 13 seconds.
I like the way you let Dwayne have a little bit more time to finish his speech. Thank you. Get that digger off.
Okay.
That's ridiculous. You smile, Bob?
You want these, Jerry?
Glenn Kowalski, Marshall Township. So I agree, this new fire station to replace the one built in 2013 could be a good outcome. We just have to open up the dialogue and get people involved that have Marshall Township's best interest in mind. Bob Ling is likely not that person based on his performance to date.
Right.
So background, Richard Lindsay, then Planning Commissioner, sent an offer to Dave Bozzard on September 25th, 2022. That was before it was disclosed about the 425 transfer in Louisville Park. Board meeting on October 17th, there was a vote to refer the option of purchase for the township offices and, important word, Station 1 to the township attorney. There was no discussion at that meeting on that action item. It was voted on with no discussion. April 17th, 2023, I get wind of an offer and FOIA the township for sale offer documents. I got 4 documents, including the proposal by the township back to MAEDA. Fast forward to the board meeting November 29th, 2023. Ling states that during the board comments, that Fire Station 1 will be replaced with the new one, where Marshall Tire now stands. No other board members make any comments. No more information is forthcoming. Members of the audience and board are surprised. The next day, November 30th, Choose Marshall issues a press release to all local news outlets confirming the replacement of Township Fire Station 1. Ling and Alba are quoted in that press release, likely for their re-election campaign. No board discussion, motion, or vote had been taken to date. December 22nd, 23rd, I received 28 documents, 2 high-level site plans for Fire Station 1. One was never shared with the fire chief, never shared with him. I don't know if you guys knew about the 28 documents or not. January 11th, 2004, I FOIA'd EGLE after it surfaced that the site is a Part 201 contaminated site. I've received 6 documents to date, which I've shared with the board. 2016 to 17, baseline environmental analysis, and DDCC, and a 2023 BEA submitted by MAEDA. No 2006 report has yet been received. So my question is, were these documents disclosed by MAEDA? Because I didn't get them in my FOIA request. This lack of transparency and trust has become a nightmare for township residents. The Part 201 contamination site is of great concern, but likely can be addressed properly if you act properly and do it with people interested in the safety and liability of Marshall Township involved. In response to my disclosure of the Part 201 contaminated site documents, Choose Marshall stated, reports that potential future location of a new Marshall Township Fire Station is unsafe are false. Nobody said it was unsafe. We just questioned the lack of transparency and presented the documents. I have now spent over 40 hours on this task and have uncovered many documents that residents, the fire chief, and possibly board members were not aware of. I resent having to do this. Bob Ling should have done it, but has let the Marshall Township residents down. I'm not a bully, and I avoid personal attacks. I shared information with the public on fire station that contained EGLE documents. If someone feels threatened by transparency, then they likely should not be part of the negotiation of this transaction. Proponents of the mega mess are now smearing those that have fought against it several ways for over 15 months, and now question this process. The township will be the final owners of the land, so we need to do our due diligence. Water supply and sewer, do we have to pay? Purchase price versus cost. Part 201 contamination. And I've given you my proposal in writing. I'll give this copy to you tonight. I'd like to do this to be part of the public record.
Okay. What?
He claims he gave us proposal.
He just handed this.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
All right, is there anyone else? Yep.
Lee Rockwell, Marshall Township, Sresco. And I wanna talk a bit about the fire station. I think it's great that we have new, up-to-date, hopefully it will be able to take care of any issues that might happen with the EV battery plant. You know, transparency is part of this. I was concerned, how much research have you done? I know Bob Lang might have known about the possible contamination or about the ground. We don't know. He probably did know because he knew about the fire station before the rest of us knew, but not before MAEDA and before they made their big announcement. He did give us a hint the night before that was going to happen, but we didn't get to discuss it. We didn't get to the information. We really would like to know these things, and for sure we would like our board, all of you, to know what's going on, not just one person, especially if there's a possible conflict of interest. Who do they work for? Do they work for the township people? Or do they work for another board that they happen to be on? And, you know, who comes first? The township residents or a board that we're not involved with? And how can you approve plans or site plans or whatever if you don't know the cost? I wouldn't approve having a home built if I didn't know how much it was gonna cost me before I built it, where the money is coming from. Is it all gonna be there? Are they able to take it back? Are we just giving this property away again? And once we do, you know, it's not ours. We don't really have any say of what's going on in there or in here, but, and the part 201, why wasn't that looked into and brought up before the township people, the residents, the people who pay taxes here, not just MAEDA or MAEDA board or our good neighbors, Ford may even know about it, we don't. Who knows? We're not you don't let us know, you're not transparent, and if some of you do know, you don't share it with us, so, keep it to yourself or to whatever boards you set on, other than this one. But I really would ask you to work for us and, be concerned with our environment and check that out. Not just one person or another board, that's not involved with Marshall Township residents. Put us first. Thank you.
Joanna Johnson, Marshall Township. So just a couple comments. First of all, there certainly has been lack of transparency on this issue, respectfully. Certainly having some sort of announcement on November 30th before any public discourse on the agreement is lacking in terms of the opportunity for the public to weigh in on, frankly, what we think is a very important matter. Unlike many who have come to the podium, we are not in support of a new fire station. Frankly, the fire station, as large as it is, you have to think about long-term what those costs are going to be for maintenance. And are we building this so that we can respond to the various calls that might be coming from a new Ford plant, as well as other issues? So us as taxpayers, frankly, are left with having to pay for those types of responses for potentially a new site. So we are not in support of a new township fire station. Certainly, if we were going to look to that, it should be also have a new township hall with some good audio-visual equipment, or maybe potentially others would like to pay for the $740,000 to $1 million fire truck. That's what they're going for these days, and maybe we can get some of those too while we're at it. So all in all, we are not supportive of a new fire station. Regarding the actual agreement, just a lot of questions as it relates to, it is part of a plat, so the plat have to be amended, that's under the background section. Under the purchase and sale, there's already been dialogue on the environmental reasons. On buyer's access to the premises, what does substantially prior to the condition mean, and who just gets to decide when it's substantially completed? The closing date and possession, we do not believe it should occur until the new fire station is completed to our satisfaction. Construction of the new fire station, again, we already heard that the current one was built in 2013. We don't have any type of estimate that I'm understanding, an engineer's or an architect's estimate as to what the current cost is and what happens if it does go beyond the $3 million. Also, septic and water, do we really need to hook up? What are the costs associated with that long term? The seller's default, maybe somebody can explain what this is saying, and do we not have an opt-out clause or any choice? The closing, again, I think we need more than 2 days, as well as having the environmental assessment completed. And the real estate broker, who is claiming the commission on this particular agreement? And again, the binding effect clause, what are examples of affiliated business entities? I'm not really sure what that is saying as well. So overall, all in all, I'm respectfully requesting that this township board postpone action on this agreement until all of our questions as the public are answered. I ask that you have a presentation so that we can better understand it, and in that way, there is full transparency on the action at hand. And I apologize, Dave, it was number 3 on the agenda.
Is there anyone else? Okay.
You're gonna use the podium this time? Thank you, thank you.
Hello, my name is Aaron Reed. I'm a senior consultant at SME. We are an engineering consulting firm who was hired by MAEDA to study how we could potentially build a site plan for a new fire station for the township. So my comments are related to specifically the site plan attached to the agreement and kind of how it came about, and speak to some of the environmental questions that have been raised tonight. So with regards to the site selection, one of the primary things that we wanted to consider with where we were looking at a place to put it was we wanted to keep it close to the existing fire station based on current access and central location. And then the other primary reason we chose the current spot was access to 15 Mile Road. So being able to have immediate access to go north to incidences that occurred that direction, and east and west on Michigan Avenue or M96. And that, with our discussions with MDOT and potential improvements related to M96, was the best access route to provide the quickest response times coming out of that new fire station. So the spot that we show on the site, or the current spot, was selected for that reason, as opposed to some of the other locations that were originally considered. Related to the site plan itself, it's actually two parcels combined. There are two adjacent parcels there that would be combined into one single parcel. Stormwater is designed to stay on site, so there wouldn't be any runoff related to any sort of other drainage systems that would be tying into stormwater to manage on site. The location of the building was selected again to provide easy access to 15 Mile Road. And then one of the requests of the fire station, or the fire chief, was to be able to have pull-through access, so the ability to drive in and out from both sides of the station. So that's why we have entrances to 15 Mile Road and the current Michigan Avenue. So related to some of the questions regarding the environmental due diligence that was done for MAEDA prior to their purchase of the property. As part of their purchase, we performed environmental due diligence for them to basically allow MAEDA to obtain liability protection if impact was found. So basically showing that prior to them purchasing it, if there was impact on the site, it wasn't caused by MAEDA. So we performed a phase 1 evaluation, which basically is a study of a given property to determine if there are recognized environmental concerns, so things that could cause contamination. So that would be prior use, existing known contamination on adjacent sites. And with this particular property, based on its prior use and previous environmental reports that had been prepared, there were recognized environmental concerns, or RECs, that would suggest to do a phase 2 evaluation, which is where you go and actually take samples of the soil to determine if the types of contamination associated with that previous development exist. So we performed a phase 2 evaluation, and similar to previous evaluations, found that there were elevated levels of metals consistent with the previous type of use, and also just where it's at in the county. So there are certain metals that you find naturally occurring in Calhoun County that exceed criteria levels. So as part of that process, because we had discovered values that exceeded criteria levels, there's 2 criteria that are looked at when we look at how do we develop a potential site. So Eagle has a non-residential criteria and a residential criteria. And in order to submit a DEA, you look at the lowest or the strictest criteria set, which is the residential. So because we had exceedances for metals, a DEA was generated, submitted to Eagle. That document's a public document. And how it relates to the development of the fire station, a fire station would be considered a non-residential type development. So we didn't have any impact that were above non-residential criteria. So in terms of how this site would be treated, there's no restrictions in terms of how we would develop it. There are certainly, based on prior use during demolition, you would evaluate any sort of additional contamination that may be discovered as part of that process and remediate it as needed based on the requirements that Eagle has stated, or that are published. So that's kind of it. So I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Michigan. So I don't just serve MAEDA. My ethics require that I look out for the entire public, so.
Is there anyone else?
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna close the public comment. We'll move on to, well, I'd like to take the, number 3 out and vote on that separately, approve the development agreement for the relocation station 1. Okay, and then we'll go on to old business, minutes of the
Need
pre.
a motion? Need a motion to approve.
Okay.
So moved. Support.
We didn't vote on that right now. Okay. And then, old business, minutes of the December 18th, 2023 regular meeting are attached. Read those. Anybody see anything that needs to change? All right, new business, bill list with a total of $16,548.55. Number 2, add the office manager to persons authorized to use the township credit card for official business.
That is needed, because he orders the office supplies.
Okay. Number 3 is approve the development agreement for the relocation of Station 1 Fire Station as recommended by the township attorney. We want to have discussion on that right now.
What, should we vote on the other ones first?
Yeah.
Circle back? No?
I'm waiting on her.
No,
You can, but items really 3 and 4 are taken together.
Okay.
If, under your request to separate, the vote on 3, 4 follows 3 as part of that.
Okay.
So, the items, you could vote on old business items. I violated my rule. You didn't remind me.
It's not our job.
This would be, the minutes, of the meeting, the approval of the bill list, the office manager, then the other item is item 5, which authorizes us to renew our membership in MAEDA, which is the state's extended state purchasing program.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and vote on 1, 2, and 5 then?
Okay.
I have a motion.
That's been made by trustee Walsh and supported by trustee Ling, made the motion to approve those items, 1 through 5. And we'll start with trustee Walsh.
we're just voting on 1, 2, 5.
1, 2, and 5.
Yes.
Trustee Ling,
Yes.
Supervisor Mazur.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Treasurer Van Arman.
Yes.
5 yes, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 3 and number 4. Seth, would you like to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So,
Need a motion,
We need a motion.
because they're separated out. Well, actually, or you could consider Walsh and Ling if they have no objection, because they originally made a motion to approve all the items.
No, I don't have any objection.
I don't either.
Okay. So we'll move on to discussion of 3 and 4.
okay, so to begin the discussion, myself and others have met with MAEDA over at the City Hall, and I believe, I thought I saw Jay Riggs here at one point earlier. He's in the back there. He was also showing, that's where it really started. It was, if there's gonna be this thought of a new fire station, we wanted to make sure that it was gonna work for the township. And I'm not an expert on fire stations, so we wanted Jay there to go over it, look at the site plans, make sure that the fire station accommodated what the fire department needs in order to operate. So he reviewed those plans, he had talks with their architect, their designers, and that's sort of what started of all of the discussions. Additionally, what's being proposed is at no cost to the township. Okay, so any cost preparing the agreement, attending meetings, attending this meeting, for example, MAEDA's covering all those costs as well as including the cost of the fire station. There's some good questions here tonight. First and foremost was, what's the project cost, right? What does this fire station cost? It's really a good question. We need to know that answer. A week or so ago, I was with MAEDA. We're trying to get those numbers figured out. We need those numbers, and I believe it's Morton that is the contract, is going to be the construction company that's handling it, and they're finalizing those numbers. I was hoping they might be back for tonight. They are not. I would expect that they're going to be ready within the next week or so, based on what I was told. The project budget has long been $3 million. We need to know what that number is going to be before the development agreement can be executed. So something that we're looking for is the form of the development agreement, which I believe that, it's a public record for sure. It's in front of the board tonight. And once those numbers get confirmed, it would allow, the resolution would allow Dave, the supervisor, to execute it. Now, if those numbers come back higher than $3 million, then that needs to get figured out. And I would not recommend that Dave sign a development agreement until we receive confirmation from MAEDA that whatever the final number is being paid for money, through MAEDA and whatever funding sources that they have. So, also, there would be a construction contract, I would believe, that would be executed between MAEDA and Morton, and I would need to talk to MAEDA about that, finding a way to get the township as a party to that, because although MAEDA's paying them, it is our fire station, right, when all said is done. So we do want to be involved in that process as well. So that's what you see in front of us. Regarding the environmentals, the development agreement does allow the township to seek any environmental studies it wants, and it does come at the cost to MAEDA. So regarding that, I know there is a representative here he's an architect or an engineer that can speak about that. But what I would tell the board members is, if you have any concerns about environmentals, you can talk to that architect or engineer. You can talk to your own township engineer about reviewing the available paperwork and finding out, what is this? What does it mean? As far as if this development agreement is executed at some point before construction begins, they're going to have to, them being Morton or MAEDA, are going to have to get any permits for well and septic. That's all through the County Department of Health. Okay, so before you're going to get a well, the county's going to have to come out and approve that. If there's any issues with contamination, that's going to be something the contractors are going to have to work through. I'd recommend that would be included in the construction contract, and that we'd be a party to that construction contract to the extent that we can be. I know that the existing fire station here has well and septic, and I believe that septic. How long has that septic been in place for? Quite a while, I think, is the answer.
Quite a while before we had filing cabinets, apparently.
Okay, so I was told during the meetings that septic system is, I want to say it was maybe a quarter full, so, and it was in good condition. So I know there's been a lot of talk about hooking up to the water and sewer infrastructure once it becomes available. The timelines for a project for whatever Blue Oval's doing, and I'm not familiar with intricacies of what Blue Oval's doing. I'm not involved in their construction contracts or anything really with Blue Oval. I was told the timelines it would be done, or they expect it to be done sometime in 2026. The existing development agreement that's before the board does say that MAEDA would pay for connections by without looking at it, I think it was December 31st, 2025. Yes. I believe after speaking with MAEDA today, that got amended to January 1st, 2027, I believe. So we did get a little bit more time there. And then, so the way this get handled is if water or sewer infrastructure is available there, MAEDA pays to hook up. Okay, if it's done by 1/1/27. If it's not, then I think we have a decision to make, right? We had a fire station operating off of a well and off of a septic for many years, right? And I was told it was only a quarter full. So you can decide at some point, do we stay with what we have and then hook up later, or do we hook up now? That's a decision that the township board's gonna have to make. I believe that summarizes the development agreement that's in front of you. as soon as I know whatever those project costs are, that's finalized, by Morton and submitted to MAEDA and over to me, you'll be the first to know, because we need to know that. And that should be made, you know, available to the public as soon as it's ready to be. And then the next part would be that, just getting that construction contract in place, if that's the direction the board wants to go. And I think some of the concerns that you heard today would be addressed in that construction contract. Are there any questions from the board? I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, I have a question. I'd like, if you could, comment on Dwayne's, comment about the money, is contingent on funding availability,
Right.
basically.
So,
And because you've been in negotiations with MAEDA and so on, so we need to make sure we address that.
right, so what that means, the funding being available is that MAEDA's paying for it. Okay, that's the funding that's gonna be available. If no funding is available, the township's not paying $3 million to build that fire station. If the construction costs come back at, I don't know, $4 or $5 million, what's gonna happen? Because the township's not gonna pay $1 or $2 additional million to get that done. That's gonna have to come from MAEDA, from the state, from wherever. It's up to them to get their funding in place. So when it says contingent, that's what MAEDA is saying. We just need to make sure that this money is there.
But the agreement says they can amend the fire station to fit the budget. That's
So,
my concern.
when we
They
talk
can come
about-
up- They can
right.
come up tomorrow and say, we only got $1.5 million.
We're talking about site plan at that point. So like what's been proposed to me, for example, is once these numbers come back, and I'm just taking a number up, let's say it's $3.1 million, and they're trying to see where can we save some money. It's my understanding on the design plans is that there's some brick on the exterior. Maybe that gets revised to save some money. I think that's what they're talking about as far as changing site plans. But anything they change, we have to approve as well.
Think.
It's all gotta be in writing.
Put it in writing.
That's part of
Don't
what
think.
this is.
Gotta be in writing.
We're not.
We don't trust them.
Guys,
Okay. Okay.
if there's gonna be a revised site plan, we have to approve it. And so does your fire chief.
But we've already entered into agreement to sell ours.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying is, why can't you get in writing a dollar number that they will pay, not 3 million if funds are contingent?
This document's not gonna be signed until we have that.
But you're voting on it tonight.
They're voting to authorize the supervisor to sign it when those numbers become available. That's what it
I
is.
didn't.
That's a bunch of.
I did
Let's
not-
read on the resolution. I mean, I'll read the resolution for you. The resolution here, the Marshall Township Board of Trustees authorizes the township supervisor to execute the development agreement upon confirmation of construction costs. Once we know construction costs, we're gonna know whether or not the site plan gets reviewed or revised. If it gets revised, that's what you're gonna be approving. That's what the supervisor's signing. And that's
Yes,
when we're gonna know how much money this thing costs.
ifs, ands, and buts.
Right.
It's not on this agenda.
No.
That's in the resolution that the board would be adopting.
It's not on this agenda.
Yeah. No.
No, it didn't come forward. The agenda was public. The agenda was published by our rules on Friday. This resolution came today, so it's included in our packets, but it's not included, wasn't
Okay.
included in the agenda. So
Okay.
the public would not have had.
And there's no motion.
Okay, so the public doesn't have the resolution? Can I read it? Is that okay by the board? Okay. Resolution, Marshall Township, Calhoun County, Michigan, January 16th, 2024. Resolution approving development agreement. Whereas Marshall Township owns certain property within the township addressed as 13661 15 Mile Road, which is the current location of the Marshall Township Fire Station. And whereas, to support the realignment of M96 and the location of sewer, water, and other infrastructure to support Blue Oval Battery Park Project and associated infrastructure, the Michigan area MAEDA wishes to purchase the subject property. And whereas, in consideration for the transfer of the subject property, MAEDA wishes to construct a new fire station for the township located on the east side of 15 Mile Road across from the existing township hall pursuant to the terms contained in the development agreement. Whereas, after reviewing the development agreement, the township board determines that it is in the best interest of the township to execute the development agreement upon confirmation of the construction costs of the new township fire station. Now therefore be it resolved that Marshall Township Board of Trustees authorizes the township supervisor to execute the development agreement upon confirmation of construction costs. If the board's considering that resolution, that's what they would be doing. It would be authorizing the supervisor to execute the development agreement upon confirmation of construction costs. That's when we know from Morton what the project is gonna cost and what the final site plan is gonna look like, and that final site plan is gonna be approved by your fire chief. That's the only way I would recommend
There was
they
no
sign
motion.
it.
Right.
The what?
There was no motion on that.
No, that would be that would be the resolution they would consider tonight if they decide to consider it.
Wouldn't that be a new item on the agenda, along for public comment? We wanna know the information.
Right, so,
Transparency is not
Okay,
here.
okay.
Transparency is not
Let's
here.
Let's talk here.
Damn it.
it was discussed with me whether it should be a motion or a resolution. I think it should be a resolution that's in writing that memorializes this board's action, okay, cause it's
We
authorizing.
can wait.
It's authorizing, whenever they do it, okay, whether it's last week, today, or next month, whatever, that it would be memorialized in writing what the board wants to do, and what it's authorizing the supervisor to
What do
do.
we wanna do?
Yeah.
What do we wanna
Point
do?
of order.
Okay.
What do we wanna do?
Terry, okay, we're not gonna allow outbursts. We're trying to get through this.
Well, I didn't know
and
what was
we're all
going on.
trying- Hey, Terry.
We didn't have any time to comment on something like that,
Jerry,
and you guys are already
Jerry.
voting.
if you outburst one more time, I'm gonna ask you to leave. Okay? All right, you know, myself as a supervisor, I'm a little uncomfortable with this, that I have to sign this. You know, I think there needs to be some discussion when we get this stuff back from them before I sign it, whether we go to another meeting or what, because I'm uncomfortable with that myself, because there's a lot of things here. I mean, I got a lot of things today, you know, and there's a lot of things to think about.
Yeah,
And we wanna make the right decision, and, you know, it's like this, contamination, I mean, I think we need to have it, we need to know that it's nothing that EPA says it's gonna affect.
And that's completely fine, that's, the agreement would cover those costs to have, that figured out.
Right.
The environmental, and, what you discussed regarding the construction costs, I understand, I mean, we're hoping to have those numbers back. That's out of my control, the board's control, we need to know those numbers, and I understand why that's,
Right.
why that's important.
Well, it's important to me because I think that we do work for the people in the township, and, this has gotta be right. It's gotta be right for the fire department, and, I think it may take another meeting to get through this.
And I don't disagree with you, Dave, because it appears that the burden is on you, and you only, to sign the agreement, to move forward. And I'm not sure that that's fair to you, when we're all aboard that should make the decision, right? So, yes, I know it's a timely matter, as far as, the sale or possible sale. But I think we should get some costs, and we, kind of talked about it, I talked about it with Jeff a little bit, and make sure we have numbers that we can be comfortable with, that will fit within the $3 million that's being discussed here. And so that we don't have, as Seth mentioned, something that comes back at 4 million, and then we go, whoa, because the last thing, at least I wanna do, and I think the rest of the board, is to have our residents pay for the balance of the fire station.
Yeah, that's
So,
not happening.
no, right,
Right.
and so if it comes out to be a free fire station with no cost to us, it's a great deal. But we have to make sure that that is actually the case, in my opinion. So, yeah. We need to amend the motion, or do we just need to vote?
I'll make a motion that we, table it to resolve, these two issues, and that they be brought back to the next board meeting or to a special meeting if it's necessary, but hopefully to our next board meeting.
No secret special meetings.
That's your motion, Jeff?
That's my motion.
I'll second
It will be advertised, won't it?
Well, if it's at the next board meeting, yeah.
Yeah, it's special.
If it's a
I heard
special board meeting, it still
I
has to
heard
be
special.
published. It still has to be published.
I'll resolve that discussion right now, even though Mr. Bozzard is not a member of our board. But I will, obviously, the law will be complied with regard to posting a special meeting if one is held. But I don't think a special meeting is gonna be necessary for this, cause it's gonna take some time to get the information together.
There's enough questions that I don't think we'll need any special meeting. We can say we'd be able to handle it the next meeting.
It's February meeting.
Yeah.
That's what we're planning on.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a roll call vote on that.
All right. Trustee Ling,
Yes.
Supervisor Bozzard,
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Treasurer Van Arman,
Yes.
Trustee Walsh,
Yes.
5 yes. The tabling motion passes.
Okay. Is there any other matters that should be brought before
So
the
did
board?
you just approve 4 as well? Item 4,
Yes.
without any discussion?
3 and 4 were.
They're not either.
We tabled 3 and 4.
It is not.
Yes.
Earlier, just for the members' information, we said that 3 and 4 were tied together.
Correct.
Motion was made to table 3, and if a 4 is tied to it, obviously, that's part of it too.
We don't
You know,
want
and I
just
think
one
it's a-
person negotiating.
Jerry,
We don't want Jeff just negotiating.
Jerry. Okay, I said if you had another outburst, you had to leave.
Come on, Dave, let's go.
I'm asking you
Come
to
on,
leave.
no, I'm not leaving,
You're not leaving?
because I'm not a threat.
Jerry, I said,
Jeff,
Jerry,
we've been
Jerry,
talking about
Jerry,
not having
please.
one person
Jerry.
do it.
I said if you're gonna have an outburst, that I was gonna ask you to leave. I said that earlier, and I
I
don't
am
wanna
not
have to do
leaving.
this.
Yeah, I'll shut up.
Okay.
We got somebody.
Okay, we're ready. Yep, we're opening back up to public comments.
Oh, shit.
But I'm saying it's gonna be quiet, so. Okay.
Joanna Johnson again, Marshall Township. Thank you very much. I think the proper motion is to postpone, not to table. Just a little Robert's Rules of Order item. Oh, well, there you go. It should, yeah. Wanted to mention just a couple items. Number one, it is very helpful to use the microphone, so please do that. I know there was quite a bit of discussion even at the planning commission meeting in that regard. If there's anything that we can do to improve our audio visual, that would be much appreciated. I understand that we have the MAEDA, which by the way is a great program, so that's probably something that we're looking into for that. I know one of the goals for the township was to have the mass notification system done, completed by December 31st of 2023. That did not occur, and I'm hoping you can give an update on that as well. And again, I do appreciate the due diligence, and I do believe the proper action was taken tonight by postponing number 3 and number 4. And I really, really hope that at the next meeting or whenever this comes back up for discussion, that we have a good presentation on it and good civil discourse. Thank you.
Glenn Kowalski, Marshall Township. So I asked a question, Seth, I'm hoping you'll answer before the evening is over, but was the BEA disclosed to the township? So, secondly, one of the things, so I'm also a licensed engineer in the state of Michigan. So I spoke a lot with EGLE over the last 3 days. And for those that don't know, the BEA is somewhat what was described. There's a paper study of past history of the site, and for 50 years it was a machine shop and plating. If you know anything about those, typically there's been a lot of issues, especially with plating contamination. However, there was also what's called a documentation of due care diligence, which is a very critical document in my mind. What that document does is it's essentially something that, in this case, MAEDA would present to the state of Michigan, EGLE, of how they would have remediated the site, and then any continuing remediation that'd be required. So the last one was done in 2016, and the state rejected it. Eight reasons, okay? So that's a critical document that I didn't hear about tonight, because that then basically through a peer review, the state of Michigan says you're okay, right? So just keep that in mind, because that wasn't mentioned tonight. MDOT, I didn't hear anything about that. You know, one of the things I brought up with Jay is, you know, do we know what's going on with Michigan Avenue? I mean, we think it's gonna be a 4-lane boulevard, right? But there's some plans that say that C Drive is gonna be Michigan Avenue, right? So there's a lot of confusion. I believe that the site plan says that it's the old C Drive will essentially be a main entrance to the Ford facility. But if it's a pretty big road, why couldn't we have a drive-through from that C Drive to Michigan Avenue with the whole property? Why do the fire trucks have to turn? And that might give us expansion room for additional, what I'm pointing out here is that I think by having a very, very small group involved in this, you've missed several things. I think the township needs to have control of who does the environmental analysis. I have nothing against SME, they're probably a great company, but they've done all the work out here, all of it. I think we also need to have control of the construction company. Seth, I think I heard you say that's already been determined. Who determined it? If it's a building for us, don't you think we should go out for bids and talk about who it is so that we get what we want?
Is there gonna be
So
one day?
6, you know, the water. So what I heard at the fire board meeting is it's critical we have 15 gallon a minute capacity. I didn't hear anything and no discussion about that this evening. If you got a septic system that's sitting on that, I don't know where the firehouse septic system is sitting, but if it's sitting on property that's gonna be used, it's not gonna be available to us. And I don't know what the term full means. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a septic tank and they have a field. But it's critical we have, as I understand it from the fire board, 1,500 gallon per minute capacity to fill trucks. So whatever you do, whether you do a well and then you attach to the city, keep that in mind. And so if we attach to the city, do we have to pay then the city for water and sewer? Those are questions that need to be answered. Because, you know, obviously with a well and septic, we don't pay anybody except for the upkeep of those systems. So again, I think the process really needs to be, we understand what's there now, but we're gonna be doing a lot of moving of soil. It should be the time to remediate that site. Then there needs to be another BEA, and then there needs to be a DDCC, so that the township has no liability for that site. We know that our firefighters are safe. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
B. Rathwell, 12 Mile Road, Stresco. Thank you for, postponing that vote. But when you get the information, please let us know, be transparent, let us know. But thank you for looking into it further. Lots of times in the agenda, there'll be one line. It was like tonight, when it's just a couple of lines, but it really was so much more. Well, we don't know what questions to ask, we don't know what comments to make, if we don't know what that one line is. You know, I mean, what does that really mean? Like, you have to have a lawyer to explain it to us. So one line isn't enough to let us know. We want to know what's going on. We want to know when you find out. We want to know too. And hopefully it isn't just one set of eyes looking at this. This is so important. We need lots of input on it. We need transparency, information. We need people to make good decisions on behalf of the residents here. And I did have a question. Who is gonna pay the ongoing costs if we do get this wonderful fire station and we do hook up to the water? Who is gonna pay for that? Is that going to be something that's added into that whatever number that MAEDA is gonna cover, or am I paying for that? I just was curious about that. But please, when you find out information and you know what's going on, hopefully more than just one of you knows, and you let us know too. We wanna know. We wanna know what's going on in our township. It's important to us. We live here. We wanna continue to live here. No. Thank you. Well, some of us wanna continue to live here. Thank you.
Jerry?
Sure. Seth, you sure said a lot of ifs. Ifs. Also, it's being bid. How's it being bid? To one person? Is it some crony of MAEDA? Is it somebody in the township? Are they only negotiate with one contractor? Well, that's really, I don't like that, because it can be done by them. MAEDA can do whatever they want with our tax dollars. And it's not being bid. It's not being bid because they're working with their contractor, working on the cost. So they're working on it right now. They're working on a bid right now. So they're already going behind our back, not having it bid. So, too many ifs. And Jeff should not be the only one negotiating this thing, just like we said before. And you guys did that pretty slick. Throw that in there, whoa, man, we got 3, 4 taken care of. Put it in one vote. That is tricky, Jeff, really tricky. Because we wanted to discuss that. Well, we did discuss it. We asked for people to be involved. And you guys didn't even listen to us. All you do is want to throw me out. I'm not going to be intimidated by that crap in these closed door meetings. You wouldn't even throw us a carrot that time either. And vote on these separately. Really tricky. And see, you every time Bob was looking at MAEDA back there, making sure things are going on, if we're doing it correctly. Bob should not even be involved in this project, just like Joanne said. He works for MAEDA. He don't work for us.
Right.
He should be totally removed from this project. This is like right now. The board should right now vote on to take Bob off of this project. Because Bob is tainted and should not be on this project, because he's part of MAEDA. He's got a conflict of interest. He's works for two different people. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. You heard it for 2 years. And you're still gonna hear it again, too. Bob should not be there. I don't want to hear one word from Bob anymore on this project, unless he comes from MAEDA. He's talking for MAEDA. Go ahead and laugh, Bob. I'm serious. Why don't you call your cop over here, remove me. You should not be there. You should negotiate with one of the other township, on the township planning board. Person just left. You guys are all part of that group. You know damn well what was going on with this thing 4 years ago. Conflict of interest. Ethics. Ethics. Come on, smirk, Bob. You're doing a damn good job of it. Last time you guys said, well, it's not inappropriate to even talk about at board meetings. Ethics. Conflict of interest. This guy shouldn't even be over here. Because I'm not a threat. Yeah, I'm throwing fire station. How's that? Is that a fire? Am I throwing a threat? I'm not a danger, but I sure am a pain in the butt to you guys. And you can't answer questions, so therefore you just want to shut me up. This bid thing, a lot of things, when Seth was talking, a lot of stuff he was saying didn't make any sense at all. I cleaned up, I was environmental engineer for the U.S. Forest Service. I cleaned up sites. The soil all had to be removed from a township, now it's a township, county, or a city hall now. All that soil had to go to Fort Wayne. This was back in the 90s. I was a Forest Service environmental engineer, licensed. So I went to a lot of EPA classes on mitigations and how to handle it. Like Glenn says, you take care of it first. Then we're not wasting our damn time up here talking to you. Now if it's clean, now let's just start to negotiate. Thank you. You can leave, sir.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
Rick Sadler, Marshall Township, and I'm sorry I came in a little bit late, so I don't know exactly what wall was covered, but I do have a few comments. I also, like Glenn, attended the fire board, and I find it kind of odd and a little bit, a lot of it concerning that there's no fire department representation on that board in a permanent manner, but you sure got old Bob over there on the board. And you know, Bob has said publicly that he is very supportive of the firefighters, and that he's been involved with the firefighting aspect of the township for, was it 40-some years, Bob? For a long time. I don't know, it was in that article that was in the advisor. And I find it odd that, you know, Bob, once again, is on yet another board Okay. I also have a question as to the site. It being chosen by MAEDA, it's contaminated. So why didn't Bob, who negotiated such a great deal for the citizens of this township, know that it was contaminated? Well, I can think of a couple reasons. Bob didn't do his homework because he did what MAEDA told him to do.
Right.
And you know, how can you not know that it was contaminated? And I would really like an answer to that on the record, Bob, if you could, in your board comments. And the other thing that I can think of is that it was just hypocritical to say that you support the firefighters, but wants to relocate them to a contaminated site, and could cause health issues further down the road. Much like the people in Squaw Creek, because they're right there too. And so I guess which is stupidity or hypocrisy? And can the citizens of this township afford either of those two possibilities? We have been sold out, misled, and downright lied to by Bob in this whole matter. The citizens of Marshall Township are done with the lies, half-truths, lack of transparency, and total lack of responsibility to your constituents. Do us all a favor and resign before you get run out of office for your malfeasance. Thank you.
Julie Bryant, Squaw Creek. I don't really have a prepared speech, okay, but just sitting here, listening to all of this, it's just like, how many times are we gonna talk to you guys about transparency? How many times are we gonna talk about how many boards is Bob Ling on? And how is that not a conflict of interest? Okay? How many times do we have to talk about MAEDA's not running? This is our township. Oh, MAEDA picked out this site. MAEDA wants our fire department. Oh, they told us so they could run a line. Oh, just like we got lied to about why they cut down all the trees on C Drive. And then the paperwork has said, oh, we had to get rid of the trees so the endangered bats didn't come back. Okay, there's always a reason because MAEDA is liar. They're all liars. Bob's part of them. He's a liar. Okay, are you guys liars too? Nobody's doing their homework. Nobody's listened to the residents. And Jeff, we're residents. We're not the audience.
Look at
We're
'em, Jeff.
residents.
Look at 'em,
We
Jeff.
pay taxes in this township. We pay your salary. We are the residents. We are fed up with this crap. We're fed up with the blue oval. We're fed up with they want our land. We're fed up with the fact that they're putting this right on top of our neighborhood of Squaw Creek. They don't give a shit about anybody on the river there. Those people, sky is already lit up over there. They were promised that those lights would be turned off. They're already lit up. They've taken pictures. How much are we to endure here in this township? How many lies? When you got Seth sitting up there. Seth, you're not part of our township. You don't live here. You're not part of us. You can read all the stuff that you want to read.
What'd Jeff say?
But you are not part of our township. You're a paid
We got you.
participant.
Jerry,
Jeff's
Are you gonna
talking
sit
behind
down,
your
Jerry?
back.
We're tired of this shit.
So.
We're tired of this shit. We need
So there's
Not
no
me.
comment?
Yeah, Jeff was way over there.
Well, I think it is in this situation, we need to get all the information that we
I'll be-
need.
Dave, did you just close the meeting?
Yes.
So there was no board discussion?
No.
There you go, just shut down.
Let's do it again.
You have not had any board discussion.
We're,
They don't like what we have to say.
Oh, this is hilarious. You got the cowboy here.
Well, that's taken care of.
Yeah, and the meeting's been adjourned.
And we all know Bob Lynn had a conversation with this gentleman right here before the meeting.
I knew I saw it, I got tape, got him on tape back there.
Good.
we never had it.
It's cold out.
It's very cold out there.
My truck wouldn't even start when I parked it this morning. And I must have left my lights on, so hopefully it starts now. So,
Yeah, they haven't brought that up. Yeah, so like, that's maybe why we look at our engineer.
they said when they take charge. They pick up stuff.
Is this still running?
Yeah, it's still running. It's got.
They don't.
Well, you know, Bob and
Oh, I'm glad you did.
You want me to stop this now, or?
I'll let Nick go about midnight, how's that? The team's pretty good.
Sometimes it's good to kind of hear the conversations after the fact.
Oh, you gotta get out with it.
I know, I got
So, what we do? No, I'll get it. You'll let me get this?
Shut it off.
You
I
know?
haven't stopped you doing it